Alright, I've made a simplified diagram of how the data flow inside the Redux framework is typically. Here you have your React component. This could be your React Native component, your container component, which you could typically call the components that are connected to your Redux store. Those are called container components. This is an actions, this is reducers, and this is store. This is part of the Redux framework, the store, reducers, actions. And the only way to change the state in the Redux framework is to dispatch an action. So let's say you have imported the action fetch users inside of your React component. Then you dispatch the action. You call the action fetch users when for example, the user presses the button. Bam, we call the action fetch users. Then we dispatch the action. It sends an action type and an action payload to the reducer. So in this case, it would probably be that the action type is fetch users or fetching users. And maybe the action payload is to, well, we don't actually need an action payload in this case. We can just have a case inside of a reducer. So this reducer takes in the fetching users action type, and then it changes the state to the new state. So in this case, the reducer would maybe change the activity indicator for loading screen to be true. So now when the user presses the fetching users, it will show an activity indicator to show that it's fetching from an API. So the reducer is taking care of changing the state accordingly and returning a new state to our Redux store. Our React component is subscribing to the store, so it will see the updated state and it will show then the activity indicator. Another example, for example, our counter app we're gonna make. Let's say we have a set counter action. When you input the number manually for the counter, then you dispatch call the action, you set the action type, set counter, and maybe your payload is 5 because that's the number you entered in. That was not the number 5. So then the reducer is gonna change our state accordingly. So it will set the state of the counter to 5 and it will turn the new state to the store. And our React component is gonna see the updated state and it will show the number 5. Ta-da! So it's an extra layer of complexity compared to the vanilla React data flow. But trust me, when you have bigger, complex apps, it's gonna make it a lot easier and a lot more organized compared to using vanilla React data flow. But remember, don't use it until you start having problems with it. At least don't use it unless you really know you have a big app coming up. Okay, now we are finally going to go into the actual coding tutorial and make our first counter. Okay, see you.